everybody. Welcome to another edition of Packers Unscripted from Packers.com. I am Mike Spofford, joined, as always, by my trusted colleague, Wes Hodkiewicz. We're coming to you here from our studios at Lambeau Field to talk about the Packers' 27-18 victory on Sunday over the Cincinnati Bengals at Lambeau Field, Wes. And we'll get into the good and the not so good and everything from this win. But I just want to start by saying this. When you see that the Philadelphia Eagles have suddenly lost 2 games in a row, the Buffalo Bills have suddenly lost 2 games in a row, and the Detroit Lions went on the road against a team that had been struggling, although, of course, that is the Kansas City Chiefs, but they lose by 2 touchdowns. You take your victories and be happy with them and walk away and just get back to work. That's where this Packers team is right now.
Just win, baby. Al Davis had it right all those years ago. I don't know, Mike. You are not huge on the social media thing, and honestly, that's probably smart on you.
Thank you.
But there were some pretty cool graphics out there. There are 4 teams in the National Football League left with 1 loss, and the Green Bay Packers happen to be one of them. When you look at the totality of a season, wherever this thing goes for Green Bay, I will always go back to that locker room, the visiting locker room at AT&T Stadium when Brandon McManus was addressing the media, and he said to all of us, you know, we don't know a tie if it'll be a good thing or bad thing, how it'll all work out in the end. But the fact is if the Packers leverage it properly, it can give them an advantage in some of these tiebreakers. Look at the NFC North right now. The Packers stand atop of it at 3-1-1. Where they take this thing, we got a lot of games coming up. Got 2 back-to-back road games coming up. The Packers need to get a win on the road here, preferably this week.
Yeah.
But if you don't take care of business at home, it's going to be a really hard way to get to the playoffs, get to a good seeding. And the Green Bay Packers wasn't the prettiest football game you and I have ever watched, but they got the job done.
It was definitely a flawed victory, but I think the discussion of this one, at least for me, it starts with the performance by Josh Jacobs, because not only did Josh Jacobs look like the 2024 Josh Jacobs in terms of being kind of the heartbeat of the Packers offense in this game. He racks up 150 yards from scrimmage, gets nearly 100 of it rushing, gets the rest of it receiving, rushes for 2 touchdowns. But then we find out after the game, he's dealing with a little bit of the stomach flu. Like, he wasn't even feeling all that great. And yet you would not have known that at all by what we saw out on the field on Sunday. And it was nice to see after the struggles the Packers have had running the ball early in the season. We definitely saw the running game start to come to life in the second half in Dallas. And it felt like, as I said, this looked like Josh Jacobs as the true catalyst of the Packers offense, the way he was last year. I think that bodes well moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. And I'll be honest with you, I don't feel that great today. I'm a little bit under the weather. But all I could think about this morning, I don't think I'm sick. You don't have to worry about that. But I barely slept last night. And all I could keep thinking about this morning was, God, how the heck did Josh Jacobs touch the ball 23 times or whatever it was, feeling the way he was feeling? And I don't know if you caught the mic'd up. Fortunately, we were spared of any involuntary reactions that he might have had to playing in that football game. But the fact that he was able to laugh through a lot of it and keep a positive disposition to the point that Matt LaFleur wasn't even really aware of just how much he was hurting in that game, I think obviously speaks to the type of man that Josh Jacobs is and also the type of football player he is. He wants that ball in his hand. And the Green Bay Packers, you and I said it last week on Unscripted. We said it on the 48 other videos that you and I do. The Packers, to win games consistently, need Josh Jacobs to be the one kind of steering this thing. Jordan Love played exceptionally well. Matt LaFleur called it one of his best games as the Packers starting quarterback. But I felt like the offense moved up a tick once Josh Jacobs got going, and particularly in the second half.
Yeah.
And when Green Bay needed a response, they turned to their Pro Bowl running back, and he produced in spades.
Yeah, the frustrating thing, the only frustrating thing really offensively in this game for the Packers was that you went into halftime with 240 total yards on the board. You're on pace for, approaching a 500-yard offensive day, but it's only 10-0 at the half because the Packers just left too many points out there on the board in the first half. One of the biggest reasons was kind of the one bad play that Jordan Love had, which is I wrote about in my rapid reaction piece, that this one bad play that seems to happen each game is what Jordan Love needs to get rid of. He knows that. Everybody knows that. I think he's going to get there at some point. But he, tried to force a ball on a third down scramble play with the Packers in field goal range. obviously it's just throw it away, kick the field goal, get on the board 3-0, get on with the game. It's the opening drive of the game. You don't need to be a hero in that moment. That being said, then he comes back at the end of the game with the game on the line, 3rd and 8. The Bengals are within 6 points. You can't give the ball back to Cincinnati at that point. And he and Matthew Golden connect on a 31-yard, absolutely clutch throw and catch and route adjustment by Golden and all of that. So we're seeing, you know, the sublime along with the ridiculous in some senses with Jordan Love. But what I mean by that is there's so much good that he's doing, and he's just so close to eliminating that one play that is going to elevate him statistically and elevate this Packers offense even further. And I think he's getting there. We just have to wait for him to get there.
Absent of those 3 plays, the 2 interceptions and the fumble in Dallas, if you take those away, and obviously it's the old Dom Capers thing, it changes everything if you take away the bad plays.
They all count.
But this guy's what it's taking away from right now is the fact that Jordan Love's playing like an MVP.
Yeah.
That is the way he has performed. When you talk about your one last look column last week with the 3rd down productivity with the offense right now, when you talk about the way that he's closed out these games when the defense has been relinquishing some yards, Jordan Love has been the rock that this team has needed. And it's just been that one bug on the windshield that's sort of been getting interrupted to this thing. But again, the thing that's so impressive about it, Mike, is that whether it was Cleveland, Dallas, or what happened against Cincinnati, every single time he responded.
Yeah.
He didn't sink into his shell. He didn't change the way he played necessarily. He still kept the offense driving forward. And the beautiful thing about it, when you actually look at it, is Christian Watson isn't back yet. Jaden Reed is gone. He's developed the chemistry now with Matthew Golden to make him a go-to target. We've seen a resurgence here from Romeo Doubs in being that I would almost call him like the Amon-Ra St. Brown of this Packers offense, where it's like when you need a play, when you need a first down, or as we saw a couple weeks ago, when you need a touchdown, this is the guy that you turn to. Tucker Kraft, the 24-yard pass in the seam. Mike, I wrote an Insider Inbox. I felt like that was one of Tucker's best plays of the season because it showed the new dimension to his game that we've been talking about this season.
Yeah.
Jordan Love is utilizing all of his perimeter playmakers, and that is the most exciting thing. But as you said, you have to take away that big play because that's ultimately what's taken points off the board in Cleveland. Obviously led to a big swing in Dallas and temporarily sidetracked this offense against Cincinnati.
Yeah, and as much as we're going to wait for Jordan Love to get rid of that one bad play, his best attribute, and I included this in my rapid reaction column as well, and you just alluded to it, his best attribute is that he can flush it and move on with the best of them. He does not let a bad play, a bad moment bother him in the slightest. Because if he did, there's no way the Packers score on 5 consecutive drives in Dallas when they're trailing and when they need points. In this particular game, the Cincinnati Bengals in the second half go touchdown, field goal, touchdown. They pull within one score 3 consecutive times. But what do we talk about on this show, Wes? When a team is making a comeback, don't let them get the ball back again only down 1 score. And Jordan Love made sure that didn't happen because every time the Bengals got within 1 score, the Packers offense went down the field and got points of their own and reestablished the 2-score lead. And Joe Flacco and a Bengals offense that was getting rolling never got the ball back only down 1 score. The offense's ability to respond in big moments the last 2 games, and I would even throw in the Cleveland game because they did get in field goal range to win the game, and then the kick was blocked, of course. The offense's ability to respond in crunch time is kind of becoming the identity of this this offense right now, and that's a pretty good place to be because there's a lot that can go on in the first 45, 50, 52 minutes of a ball game. You get into the back half of the fourth quarter and you've got to get something done. Right now, this Packers offense is proving it can do that. Now, it's not going to necessarily be able to do that every single game, but you got to feel good about their crunch time performance on that side of the ball right now.
You can't live in 3rd and long, but you can survive there. And that's one thing Green Bay's done in this early part of the season. You hope at some point you're going to be seeing more 3rd and mediums. You're going to be seeing more 3rd and shorts, and the Packers will be able to capitalize on that. And Jordan Love will be able to do some of the magic that we've seen so far. But not only for Love to be coming up in those moments, but for the offense to be in sync when they desperately need to be, I think bodes well. We've almost been scared to say the drop word, right? Because that was something that really plagued them last year.
No doubt.
The Packers' hands through the first 6 weeks, through the first 5 games, have been exceptional. Some of the best in the National Football League. Dontavian Wicks was dealing with kind of an ankle injury, so he was out at the end of this one a little bit. But the fact that Wicks has flushed what happened last year and moved forward, the fact that Dobbs has kind of reassessed himself and become a go-to guy again, the Packers are doing a lot of good things offensively, and it's allowed them to kind of get through these early hiccups. But for me to throw these stats at you really quickly, Michael, I mean, you're looking right now at a Packers offense that right now, number 1 in the league in third down offense, 52.3%. They are 7th in fourth down offense. They are 3rd in red zone offense, and they are 8th in goal to go. It's a 9th-ranked offense. There's a lot of room for growth, but in the key areas, in those situational moments where you need to be at your best, Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, these guys have made it work. And that gives me hope that if they can find that true identity, the identity that I think they want to be, not just a scrappy team, but an explosive team, that's hidden behind all this.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to touch on offense, and we will shift gears to the other side of the ball. Rookie receiver Matthew Golden, we saw him make a 35-yard catch downfield. I already mentioned the 31-yard catch on the clutch 3rd and 8 late in the fourth quarter when the Packers absolutely had to have it. We also saw early in the game he was getting the ball in his hands in, I guess, a little bit more creative ways that ended up counting as rushing attempts statistically. Everybody's asking, okay, so how much more are they going to get Matthew Golden the ball and everything? And I'm not trying to dump on everybody's like fantasy football hopes and whatever here, but folks, it's like as soon as Matthew Golden gets his first 100-yard game or whatever, which is coming at some point, then the next question is going to be, well, how come Tucker Kraft only got 2 targets? I mean, understand what this offense is about. If Matthew Golden is putting up 80-some yards on the 5 touches and whatever that he gets, enjoy it. This is a young guy who's barely starting his career, and he's on an offense that has Romeo Doubs and has Tucker Kraft and has Josh Jacobs. I mean, you don't get to run 100 plays in an NFL game. You get to run about 60, 65, Anyway, I'm enjoying watching Matthew Golden come into his own, and I still, even as we are here in the middle of October, there is so much more out there for Matthew Golden that I think we're going to see an even better and more polished player when we get to the middle of December and this regular season hits the stretch run.
I was in the scrum after the game with Golden, and when that question started getting asked about he doesn't have a touchdown yet. And to be honest with you, and you don't play fantasy football at all, I barely play at this point. It didn't even equate in my mind that he hadn't had a receiving touchdown yet.
I hadn't even thought about it.
He just won the Packers the football game. You don't know what happens there if that's an incomplete pass, if he drops it, if Love doesn't make that play. Cincinnati was in position to answer.
Yeah.
And you've been in the same spot you were in Dallas, where both teams are kind of in the shootout. And especially with the way that Flacco was playing, the way he was getting the ball out, the way things were trending for the defense, they needed a response there. Matthew Gold did it. And I'm going to tell you, if this kid can stay healthy, he's going to have a lot of touchdowns. He's going to have a lot of catches. And they're going to find a lot of ways to utilize him. And when you use a guy, or when you draft a guy in the first round, that's exactly what you're hoping to add to your team.
Yeah, and I would just ask people to not get so fixated on statistics. And I understand we're in a fantasy football era, but don't get so hung up on statistics and just enjoy what you're watching out there. This is an impressive young player who's only going to continue to get better. We do need to talk about the defensive side of the ball, though, because it is disconcerting that for the second game in a row with a bye week in between, that things started to snowball the wrong way on the Packers defense, and the unit couldn't seem to right the ship. In the Dallas game, it was at the end of the first half when the Cowboys put together that 95-yard drive, and then in the second half, the Cowboys couldn't be stopped until the overtime when they got the stop inside the 5-yard line. In this game, the Packers absolutely dominated the Cincinnati Bengals in the first half. Joe Flacco taking over at quarterback just a few days before when he comes into to Cincinnati via the trade. And at halftime, the Bengals have 65 yards and 4 first downs. You can't dominate an NFL offense much better than that. But the Bengals came out in the second half. They got the second half kickoff, put together a monster drive, 17 plays, 10 minutes and 14 seconds off the clock. And as I talked about before, because the score was only 10-0, because the Packers had left some points on the board in the first half, the Bengals get that touchdown, and suddenly it's a 10-7 game. The Packers offense answered the bell every time they had to, but the Packers defense didn't show the resiliency that you need to show, and that this defense is certainly capable of showing, because suddenly, Flacco got hot, Jamar Chase got hot, and the Packers didn't seem to have an answer for it. And quite frankly, you listen to Matt LaFleur's press conference on Monday, they're searching for the answers as to what it is that has allowed for these second half struggles to get to be such a concern.
A couple things. First and foremost, I thought this game in particular was the moment where Green Bay desperately needed a takeaway. I understand you can't force them. I mean, to a certain extent you can, but you can't force Joe Flacco to throw an interception, yada, yada, yada. And Flacco played the same exact game he played against them in Cleveland, except his weapons in this game. He traded in a better run game in Cleveland for a much better passing offense.
No doubt.
For Cincinnati. And Jamar Chase is outerworldly. No disrespect to T. Higgins. He's a fine receiver. Jamar Chase is him.
Yeah.
This guy, I wrote it in Insider Inbox. You throw the ball in his area code, he's going to go find it. And he has that rare intangibility. And this is what I also said about Matthew Golden. You could see it on the 35-yard catch he had. When the ball is thrown to him, it doesn't feel like a 50-50 ball. It doesn't matter if the defender is there. It feels like he's going to catch it. He did it on the 19-yarder. The touchdown, he also did it earlier in the game as well. And
he does a guy like Chase, and we're seeing a little bit of it from Golden. That 35-yarder down the sideline was a good example. They do it in a way that just looks casual. When it's a tough play to make, but they make it look easy, they make it look casual. It's sort of like lulling your defender to sleep in a way that they don't really know the ball is there, and then suddenly, boom, the receiver's got his hands on it, and you're like, wow, what a play. Yeah. And Jamar Chase made that play at the pylon on the 4th and 5 from the 19-yard line. That was the one that had all of us in the stadium, in the press box, everywhere. We were just like, holy cow, like what a play.
Yeah, silence.
But by the same token, that's the type of play, that's the play that the Packers have to break up. That's the play you got to make. It's just like the George Pickens ball down the left sideline late in the first half in Dallas, where the Packers look like they have two guys that are in pretty darn good position to make the play, but neither one of them makes it. The receiver makes the play, and all of a sudden, and it's like those are the plays that are the difference between X number of points on the board versus a different number of points on the board at the end of the day, and all this discussion about what's wrong with the defense.
Bizarrely, and I'm going to just flat out call it bizarrely, the Bengals did not have a play of over 20 yards in this game.
Yeah.
The Packers had 6. And all 4 of the longest plays that Cincinnati mustered all came in the fourth quarter. For me, I think the alarming part about it was, and I think this goes back to the self-scouting and figure out what Green Bay needs to do is, Jeff Hafley's defense is very proficient at not giving up the explosive play. It's why they're ranked right now 4th in the NFL in total defense.
Yep.
And right now, because of this game and the way that Cincinnati approaches their rushing offense, the Packers now have the best run defense in the NFL, 73 yards allowed per game. But it's almost like, and not that you want to give up an explosive play, but it's almost like the dinking and dunking element is almost, I don't know how you interrupt it. And it's what Matt LaFleur and Jeff Hafley are trying to figure out, because Micah Parsons said it on Thursday. They knew exactly what Joe Flacco was going to give them. It was going to be checkdowns over the middle, and it was going to be out routes. And that's pretty much what he did. And as LaFleur said, I think it was somewhere around 2.5 and under every time the ball was out. He played on time. And a 40-year-old quarterback that is very confident in the type of player he is at his age, it's going to keep Cincinnati in a lot of games this year, and maybe it's enough to get Joe Burrow back and still be an earshot of the playoffs. But it's also something Green Bay has to look at, because it happened with Dak and it happened with Flacco, and I assume, we'll see if Kyler Murray's up, but you have to think in 2 weeks, Aaron Rodgers is going to be taking notice of that as well. Yeah,
it's this cat and mouse game that that opposing offenses are winning right now against the Packers and Jeff Hafley's defense, because they're doing the quick game, the quick passes, getting the ball out so the pass rush can't get there. The answer to that, the the answer to that is not necessarily to try to blitz, because if the ball is coming out so quickly, then you're just compromising the coverage, right? The times that the Packers have blitzed, I mean, you could see, I want to say I saw it 2 times for sure and maybe 3. You could see it was an automatic read by Joe Flacco that when the Packers did blitz, it was the backside slant.
Yep.
Like that's where the ball was going. So, but with all of this stuff, the quick game, the backside slant against the blitz, these are the things that the Packers are seeing now. Okay, this is how teams are counteracting the things that we're going to do. So now Jeff Hafley and Matt LaFleur, they've got to come up with Green Bay's counters. And when you can not give up the explosive play, your defense is always going to be in good shape. And I do think we're talking about a completely different defensive performance, really, if Jamar Chase doesn't make the incredible catch on 4th and 5 at the pylon to give them the extra 8 points. If Cincinnati's walking out of Lambeau Field with only 10 points on the board because that 4th down play gets broken up, or that 4th down, kind of a desperation throw, quite frankly, by Joe Flacco, if that play doesn't work, the Bengals are leaving Lambeau Field with 10 points, and we're talking about a pretty good day from the Packers defense again. So there's a lot that's troublesome, but yet it's not like there's this huge gap, I guess is what I'm trying to say, between the Packers being the defense they want to be and getting those results.
We need to move the show along because
Yeah.
we ran into some issues at the beginning, and we have a construction schedule to get to. But this is probably the first time I've ever done this. When we come back on Thursday, I want to open up discussing this a little further, because I have some thoughts on it, and a couple of the reasons that I had my keys to victory last week that I'm curious to see play out defensively for Green Bay now going into this game against Arizona. But we'll get to that because, one, we got sponsorship business, but we also got to talk about Lucas Havrisik. But defensively, I think there's a lot of layers to that onion that are worth unpacking.
Yeah, all right. Well, we do need to pay some bills around here, so let's turn it over right now to a word from our sponsors. Sirius XM NFL Radio delivers hard-hitting analysis and up-to-the-minute NFL news that true football fanatics need 24/7, 365. At Cousin Subs, we have something for everyone, like our Wisconsin cheese curds, mac and cheese, golden fries, and creamy shakes, all paired with your favorite sub or sub in a bowl. Cousin Subs, 50-plus years of better. Pit Boss Grills, the official grill of Packers tailgating at Lambeau or at your house. Take your game day to the next level with a Pit Boss wood pellet grill. Pit Boss Grills available at Menards. Hey Packers fans, we always knew Lambeau Field was a wonder, but now it's official. Learn more about all the wonders of Wisconsin at travelwisconsin.com/wonders. Welcome back to Packers Unscripted. You brought up his name, Wes. Kicker Lucas Havrisik signed on Saturday as an emergency option in case Brandon McManus can't go on Sunday. And I guess I'll say it this way. It sort of felt like Brandon McManus could have gone on Sunday, but because it was only the 5th game of the season and the Packers have already had their bye week, they chose the high side of caution here with so many games left to go that they don't want this quad injury of McManus's to become like this season-long thing to have to deal with. They want to get on top of this. They want to get rid of it. So Havrisik got the call, and the young man came through. He
did, and just to mention, too, Brandon McManus, I actually watched him a little bit during his warm-up down on the field, and LaFleur had said, too, he was kicking well. McManus said, he was drilling 50-yarders, but there was still an element of pain in the follow-through.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the Packers wanted to shield against. So, again, we'll see what the week calls for Brandon, because obviously he's a big part of this team. They extended him for a reason. You want to have him healthy. But for Lucas Havrisik, in this wild specialist world, we hear the stories all the time, whether it's kickers, punters, long snappers. These guys have to do very bizarre things at times to try keeping their careers afloat or try to find an opportunity, as Havrisik said afterwards. There's only 32 of these jobs in the NFL. So he had a shot at it back in 23. His second NFL game was actually at Lambeau Field with the Los Angeles Rams. But since then, he's bounced around a lot. Last year, he kicked for the Arlington Renegades in the UFL. He's trying to find a way to keep this thing going. He said he's picked up some substitute teaching jobs. Somebody in our Insider Inbox column said they actually worked with him at a school down in Arizona. He was an undrafted rookie. He went to University of Arizona and graduated in 2022. But now he's been living in Cleveland, and he's been doing the circuit. he said he thought about getting a substitute teaching job again, but he had a workout 2 weeks ago in New York. He had a workout last Tuesday in Indianapolis, and then the Packers called, and he came in here, works out. I believe it was on a Thursday. The Packers signed him on a Saturday, and next thing you know, he's having to make 5 huge kicks in a game in which the Packers really needed those field goals. For him to distill that all down and show that moxie, I thought spoke volumes about him. And it also is another lesson in just how that Rolodex is so important. And the Packers, regardless if you're on the team or not, particularly at the specialist position, you always got to keep your vision out there to figure out if there's a guy that you might need to turn to in those instances.
Yeah, he came through with the biggest kick of the game, being the one just after the 2-minute warning. The Packers are up by 6. They fail on the 3rd and 2. And so they send out Havrisik for a 39-yarder to, again, reestablish the 2-score lead and, in effect, put the game away with less than 2 minutes to go, not give the Bengals the ball back with just the 6-point cushion. And he drilled it, and it made him 5 for 5 on the day with the 2 field goals, the 3 extra points. Pretty darn good showing, and by the entire field goal operation for the issues that the unit has had. A good showing there all around.
He earned a game ball for it, too.
Yeah, good, and well-deserved. Good for him. All right, Wes, we're going to be talking about this a lot as the season goes along, so I don't want to belabor it right now. But 3-1-1, 4-2, 3-2, 3-2, those are your 4 records in the NFC North. Every single team is above 500 here in the middle of October, so as I like to say, buckle up, folks. Like this is just getting started. Here we go. This division is not backing down from anybody. And here we go.
There's nothing I hate more than watching baseball when you're, in the Brewers' case, we're down 1-0. I don't mean to rub any salt in the wound here, but
that's okay.
But I'm just telling you, like, honestly, what my viewing habits were on Monday night. So I don't need to watch the Brewers try to chase 1 run late in the innings. It ended up being very exciting at the end.
It was a very exciting ending. Unfortunately, went the wrong way, but yes.
But for that reason, I switched my channel over to ABC. I watched the end of the Chicago-Washington game. I didn't need to be agitated. I'm a quitter by my natural mindset. And I'm going to tell you this, Packer fans, I don't know, because of the Brewer game going on, I don't know how many people watched the Chicago Bears game. 1, very scrappy performance by the Bears. But 2, if you ever again needed another reminder of how difficult it is to win a game in the National Football League, see the Washington Commanders, because they found a way to lose that game. And to the Bears' credit, and to Jake Moody's credit, who is their practice squad kicker, he's already been released from the 49ers because of just being too erratic. He came through clutch, and Ben Johnson, credit to him. I thought they had some really smart blocking schemes. I thought the offensive line for the Bears played exceptionally well. Caleb Williams was very smart with how he handled that final sequence to put them in scoring position. And the Bears clawed it out. But for the Washington Commanders to fall to 3-3 that way, it again shows you, for a team that's that talented and has Super Bowl aspirations this season with how it's built.
Yeah, and they got their quarterback back this game after he had missed some time. Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, the top team record-wise in the NFC is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 5-1. They chalked up another win over a previous one-loss team in the San Francisco 49ers, who've been playing with their backup quarterback. The Niners are now 4-2. So I think I saw, if I counted it correctly, and you've got your screen and you've got your thing called up there, I believe it's now 12 of the 16 teams in the NFC are above 500 right now.
That's correct. Would you like to? Well, 500 or better.
500. So only 4 teams in the NFC are below 500 right now, and with this much time left to go, and only 7 playoff spots available, it is going to be an absolute dogfight the rest of the way.
And there's a lot of extracurriculars that happened with the Kansas City-Detroit game. Unfortunately, what that did with Brian Branch, who's now been suspended for 1 game because of what happened with Juju Smith-Schuster afterwards, it took away from the spotlight that was an excellent win for the Kansas City Chiefs.
No doubt.
And a gritty performance by them. Gritty's been my word of the day, I guess. But Chiefs are a team that's had to claw themselves back into this thing, and they've done it steadily. And I think you can see the life sort of reviving around them right now, particularly in the belief in Patrick Mahomes and what he could do with this squad this year. A really strong performance from them, a strong answer. And I felt like that was a statement game because Detroit was riding high. 4 straight wins after the loss here in Green Bay, which I'm sure there was a lot of stuff that they thought about that. You're on the road. They played the Packers tough. some things didn't go their way, and the Kansas City came out here and showed that they're still a team to be trifled with.
Yeah, and the other one I'll throw out there too, because this one, I'll be honest, it caught me by surprise because I thought the Jacksonville Jaguars, coming off of that Monday night victory over Kansas City, that, okay, here come the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, and nope, they run into this. They're hosting the Seattle Seahawks, about as long a flight, continentally, not internationally, but as long a flight continentally as anybody has to make. Seattle flying all the way to Jacksonville. I guess Miami would be further, but the Seattle Seahawks and Sam Darnold, man, they bounced back from a tough loss against Tampa Bay the previous week when they lose right at the wire, and they go into Jacksonville and post a win, and Seattle's right there now with everybody at 4-2.
Big time performance by the Seahawks. Big time performance by Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. Huge performance by the Atlanta Falcons, who have a really sneaky good defense that gave Buffalo all kinds of fits. We talk so much about the North, and the North is going to be a meat grinder this year.
Yep.
But the NFC in general is very talented this year, and it is going to be a complete race for those 3 wildcard spots. So any win matters. Packers are 3-1-1. One of the 4 left with 1 win. And as we'll preview on Packers Unscripted on Thursday, trying to pick up another against one of the 4 teams that are actually below 500 in the NFC, the Arizona Cardinals.
That's right. And with that, we will call it a wrap on this edition of Packers Unscripted. Be sure to follow all of our coverage of the team on Packers.com. For Wes, I'm Mike. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next time.